Hello everyone and welcome to my presentation for the Innovation in Translation Summit. I'm so excited that you've joined me for this talk on tablets for translators. Now I'll be sharing 3 tips on why I think a tablet can actually be a useful tool for translators. Now, I think most of you already have a sense of who I am, but maybe just a brief introduction if you don't. So my name is Josh Goldsmith. I am a translator and conference interpreter and a big tech geek, and I run Tech Forward, which is all about empowering language professionals to use technology. And if you don't know about Tech Forward yet, I encourage you to check out our website, techforward.com, explore some of our free courses, explore some of our on-demand courses, perhaps a webinar or 2, or even our amazing Tech Forward Insiders community. Now, you might also know that one of the things that I have done is I literally wrote the book on tablet interpreting. And if you're an interpreter, you may have heard me talk about this. Now, you might be wondering, you might be saying, okay, Josh, interpreting makes a lot of sense for tablets because you need to be in a small booth and you need to travel a lot and so on. But I actually think that tablets can be very useful for translators as well. And I'd like to tell you a few of my favorite ways to use tablets in this short summit presentation. So first, maybe I could just tell you why I love my tablet. I love the fact that it is a device that I can take with me whenever I'm out and about if I want to work on the go. I pop into a coffee shop, I need to answer some emails, things like that. It's very easy for me to do so. And of course, a real benefit is that it's so small that you can pop it into your bag very easily. It's silent, doesn't make any noise. It has a long battery life. It lasts a long time. And I use my tablet for all sorts of things in my daily life. So I check my email, I watch yoga videos and do yoga every morning. Some of you might not know that I'm a yogi. I watch Netflix on my tablet, sure. But the real question is, can they be useful for translators? You're probably thinking, well, Josh, I need a ton of screen real estate when I'm translating. I've got my document open on one side, my reference documents, my dictionary, perhaps my cat tool. There's an awful lot of stuff on the screen. Yes, I 100% agree, but I do think that there are some very interesting use cases for tablets. I also think tablets can be a big relief from sitting at your desk all day. I'm sure everyone can understand the fact that we sit at a computer for hours and hours on end. We might get our best ergonomic chair, an ergonomic keyboard, an ergonomic mouse, but still that's a lot of hours of staring at a screen, and your eyes might get tired, your body might get tired. Perhaps you get up, you stretch, you walk, you exercise in between sessions, which I strongly recommend. Maybe you've got a cool setup with a treadmill or something like that, but I think that sometimes it's actually a good idea to change up your workspace. Have you ever grabbed your laptop and moved to another table, a coffee shop, a couch maybe, to take another look at a translation that you've already done, perhaps for proofreading? Well, I think that that might be one of the most interesting cases for using a tablet as a translator. But before I dive in, let's get right to the first interactive activity. So I hope you've downloaded the worksheet for this session. If not, please do so right now and go straight to the first exercise. And if you have a tablet, tell me about how you might use a tablet. If you don't have a tablet, jot down some ideas about how you think a tablet might be useful, whether in your professional life or in your personal life. So I'll ask you to pause the video right here, do this exercise, and then join me again in a minute or 2 once you've done it. Okay, so welcome back. I hope you jotted down a few ideas on the worksheet. If not, it's not too late to pause the video and do it. Those of you who know me know that I love interactive webinars, interactive sessions, and so I'm going to try to make this session as interactive as possible. In order to do that, I'm going to ask you to actually find a project that you are working on, a translation, perhaps a proofreading project or a copywriting project that you're working on. Perhaps it's a project that's not yet complete. Perhaps you've finished drafting it, but you haven't proofread it yet. That's even better. And I would ask you to find something in PDF format or convert it to PDF format, and then we will dive right in for these exercises. And I have to say, if you're not yet done with the project, that's even better, because 2 of my 3 tips are about proofreading. In fact, my first tip is how you can use your tablet to proofread and edit your own translations. My second tip is having your tablet read your translation to you for proofreading purposes. And my third tip is about using tablets as a second screen. So let's start with that first tip: proofreading and editing your own translations. Now, the old school approach to this would be, okay, I finished my translation, I got it in a Word file, I've got it in a PDF, whatever. I am going to print it out on paper, grab my pen, and head off to the local coffee shop to go through my work that I've just done, clean it up, scratch out the things that I don't like, write in a few different translations, and then come back and look and input that into my computer and have a proper version. And sure, absolutely, you can do that. I don't think it's all that eco-friendly, but you can do that. And it does change things up, mix things up, give you a different workspace. However, you can do exactly the same thing with a tablet and a stylus, and a free app that works on both Android tablets and iPads. And that app is called PDF Viewer. You'll find it at pdfviewer.io, and there's a link in the spreadsheet. And I'm just going to show you how I use PDF Viewer to clean up my own translations, to annotate things. So we'll take a look at that, and then after I finish that, I encourage you to go straight to the next exercise, where I encourage you to try this out yourself. To download PDF Viewer, it's free on your tablet if you have one, and then give it a shot. So here's my demo. After the demo, pause this, go to the worksheet, do the next exercise, and then I'll see you back for tip 2. Okay, so here we are inside the free PDF Viewer app, which is available for both iPad and Android. And I'm just going to show you how I edit one of my own texts. In this case, this is an article that I wrote for the Toolbox Journal and for the Tech Forward blog. So right up here in the upper corner, I've got a menu of icons. I select the editing or annotation tools, and then I'll pick the tool I want. So first of all, writing on the page, I can actually change the color to whatever color I'd like to work with. And then, well, we'll just take out the U to go with American English, for example. If I want to change something else, I could just scribble right through it. I can also, let's strike through this bit. I don't really need this text, so let's just select that, and boom, I've struck through it. And then maybe there's a bit that I want to highlight because I'm not really sure if I'm going to use it or not. I'll just highlight this there, and then jot a note to myself to think about this later on. I can also, for example, manually strike through a piece of text, and I can even go right here and type what I'd like to put in here to replace this bit. Now, there are lots of other features you can use, such as sticky notes, underlines, squiggle underlines, and lots more, but you've got the basics. All right, welcome back. I hope you tried that out, and I hope you enjoyed it. You can jot down some ideas about using this, or ask questions about using a tablet and stylus to annotate the document in the Summit community. I'll be answering them all day, so feel free to head over and share some thoughts, reflections, or questions on this. Tip number 2, have your tablet read to you. So let me tell you why I like reading out loud. Often when I'm translating something, I will finish it, and then I'll set it aside for a little bit, come back to it the next day when I'm proofreading it. And when I'm doing that, I often will read my own translation to myself in my own voice to check on the pacing. Those of you who know Tech Forward know that I do a lot of writing, and I also do this for my copywriting. I want to make sure things have a natural pace, that they sound good, that they don't sound clunky, and so I will read my own writing back to myself. Here's something you might not have thought of. You can have your tablet read to you. And it's really useful to have, and maybe some of you have done this, you've asked some other colleague or perhaps your partner, business partner or romantic partner to read something to you and see if it sounds right, see if it sounds natural. You can check the pacing, you might spot a mistake or two that you wouldn't otherwise spot. You can do this with a computer, and actually text-to-speech is getting better and better. In the early days, text-to-speech would be a very robotic voice, not very natural pacing, but it is improving, and it's only going to continue improving. Now, of course, it's best for bigger languages. It's not as good for smaller languages, but nevertheless, it is coming along very nicely in a wide range of languages, some of the ones I imagine that you work with. So we're going to look at a quick demo of how this works, and then you have your next exercise right after the demo, and that exercise is to take a piece of text, something that you have translated, something that you have written, to pop it into a text-to-speech tool, and I've got some recommendations for the different tools you can use in the worksheet because it'll be different for Android and iPad, and give it a shot. And then there's another question on the worksheet asking you to reflect on this experience. So watch the demo, pause it, do the next exercise. See you back in 5 minutes.
Our favorite question, will technology replace translators and interpreters? People outside the language industry often tell us, more or less in jest, that our jobs are on the line and will soon be replaced by machines. Anyway, this month's column is a reflection on exactly that. Feel free to forward it to your friends or family members who just won't stop teasing you about the rise of the machines. Our favorite question, will technology replace translators and interpreters? People outside the language industry often tell us line and will soon be replaced by machines. Anyway, this month's column is a reflection you about we've all done it. Even what do you do when you come across an article?
All right, so I hope you enjoyed my second suggestion for using tablets, namely to have your tablet read to you to work on the pacing, flow, check some mistakes in what you've written. Here's my third and final tip for this session. You can use your tablet as a second screen. At the beginning of this training, I was telling you about how most translators have tons of things open at any given time when they're working. And if you saw my screen, you would know just how many tabs I have open. I think many of you might identify with having dozens of tabs open. And I try to close them, I really do, but there are so many things and you're constantly opening new ones for research and so on. And a single screen can get a little small, even if you've got a nice home studio. In fact, some of you might already have 2 screens. But did you know that you could have a third screen by just using your tablet? It's a great way to get some additional screen real estate, and it's not all that difficult to pair your tablet up with your laptop or desktop computer. Frankly, as far as I'm concerned, there are never too many screens, so why not give this a shot? Another use case might be if you go on vacation, if you're a nomadic translator. I know there are some of you out there, people who are on the road and work from different places on different days. So you've got your laptop, but why not also use your tablet? Right alongside your laptop, you significantly add screen real estate for translation purposes, which is great. One other tip I'll give you on this is to get yourself a nice stand so you can set your tablet up at about eye height, at a comfortable height, and I have a favorite stand, and I've included that recommendation in the worksheet. I use a stand all the time. I use it actually when I'm in the kitchen cooking and I want a recipe right at eye height, but I also use it for professional purposes when I'm sitting at my desk and I need an extra screen. So let me start by telling you about an app that will work for both Android tablets and iPads, and that app is called Air Display. It's not too expensive. I've tested it out. I think it works pretty well. What's good about it is that it communicates with your laptop, desktop, whatever you're using, either via a cabled connection or using a wireless connection. And yeah, I got that right. Cabled or wireless, just checking here. I almost said cabled or wired. So cabled or wireless. I do recommend cabled if possible because the sync is a little bit faster, although that too has gotten better with recent iterations of this tool. And you may even be able to use some touchscreen gestures on your tablet as you're going along to control what you're doing. If you have an iPad and if you're working in a Mac ecosystem, you're in luck because there's a great feature called Sidecar, which takes this up a notch. So Sidecar pairs up your Mac, your PC or your laptop with your iPad, and it does it all natively. Sidecar's been around for, I'd say, about a year and a half, 2 years at the time of this recording in 2021. And it was a game changer because beforehand you had to use third-party tools and they just weren't as smooth. But now that Sidecar is out there, it syncs up very, very nicely. And it adds lots of cool features. So you can use gestures to move around your documents. You can use scrolling. There's a sidebar which you can open, which has some very useful controls. And I'll put a link to some of those options in the worksheet for you. And the coolest thing, if you have an Apple Pencil, which is Apple's first-party stylus, you can actually use it to mark up a document that you have open on your tablet. So think about the possibilities here, right? You translate something, you turn it into a doc file, a PDF file, whatever, as you export it from your CAT tool. And then if you want to actually do that annotation thing I was talking about before, you can do that using Sidecar very intuitively. Now, I'm not going to give you a demo on this one. Instead, I'm just going to show you a quick picture of what it looks like when I'm using my tablet alongside my laptop or alongside my computer. There it is. And I would encourage you, after we finish this webinar, if this sounds like it could be of interest to you, to give it a try. All right, so we've come to our final interactive activity of the session, and I'd just like to ask you to pause the video one more time to reflect on what I've covered today, to reflect on which of these tools, which of these approaches sounds like it might be interesting to you, when you might use it, and how you might use it. All right, pause the video, and I'll see you back in just a few minutes. Okay, so this brings us to nearly the end of my summit presentation on tablets for translators. As you know, we're trying to keep the presentations short and actionable so you can take action right after you do them, and I hope that paired up with this worksheet and with those breaks in the presentation, you were able to do so. Now, you might be going, well, Josh, you've only given me 3 tips. Don't worry, there's more. There are lots of other ways that you can use a tablet. So have you ever thought about using CAT tools on your tablet? Believe it or not, you can, depending on the tool, but there are ways to do it. And you can also take your tablet for a spin for remote accessing your home computer. So if you have your CAT tool on your home computer, you're out and about, and you need to log into your CAT tool, there are ways to do that. You can use different productivity tools on your tablet, and I will be covering all of this in the special bonus workshop on tablets for translators that I will be giving after the summit ends. It's included if you have the power pack for the summit. So if you have it, you will be getting an invitation to join me for my tablets for translators workshop. All of the details are on the worksheet, and that will be a great session. It'll have time for hands-on practice. It'll have time for live Q&A, and beyond the tips that we've covered here, we'll go into more detail about some of these other burning questions about why a tablet might be useful for translators. So that brings me to the end of this presentation, but I very much look forward to seeing many of you in that live workshop on tablets for translators. We'll be unpacking this, going into a lot more detail, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And on that note, I will say thank you very much. It was a real pleasure to share just a few pieces, a few ideas, a few innovations from my own experience with you. I hope you enjoyed the summit. I look forward to answering any questions you have in the summit community. And go dive into the rest of the presentations and see you at the next live event. Bye, everyone.